welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. Please let me know out there that I'm coming through loud and clear because we've been suffering through some pre show audio issues, and
It
it's
was
not the
my
normal.
fault, I think.
It's not the normal ones where I just can't get myself off mute because I'm incompetent. This was something actually in the system, or as my co-host Sam is suggesting, it's her fault. One of the two.
Yes. Well, no, because I mean, like, you were having audio issues on your end, and I could hear you just fine, but you had the echo, and then all of a sudden you couldn't hear me,
Yeah.
and then
And then you
I just
disappeared.
unplugged the mic and then plugged it back in, and apparently that fixed it. So this is all my fault. But then my
But
camera went out for some reason.
But much like a pipeline, a gas pipeline, apparently all you have to do is shut things off for a while and put it back on, and you're back in business. And gas prices can go back down.
Could. Keyword
Could,
could.
could. Depends.
Nah.
Want to say hello to all of you that have joined us early and are already out there chatting. Those of you who aren't out there chatting, you should really say hello to the community out there. They're mostly nice people, except for Steak Sauce. But I want to say hello to Dan Shine, MJ from Let's Talk for a Minute, DJ Donnelly, um, and of course the aforementioned Steak Sauce, who are already lighting up the chat section. I really appreciate that, guys. These shows are always a little bit nerve wracking for us, or at least for me, because I don't go in with the assumption that you guys really care enough about what I have to say about anything to fill an hour. You've proved wrong. You've proved me wrong quite a few times, but it's still there.
Doubt schmout.
And so, Sam, have you seen any good movies or any movies period this week?
I've seen actually kind of a bunch. So, let me see. I mean, I think I started with Awake last week. It came out on the 9th, the Netflix original movie. Just don't bother. I think it's a Netflix original anyway. It's like an EMP blast causes everybody in the world to not be able to sleep. And we never find out who did it. Or why. And did you see the trailer for it, Lauren?
I saw a clip that was on Twitter of the trailer, but it was a clip of a trailer, so it's probably like, I don't know, a fraction of the film.
Yeah.
It didn't strike me as something I needed to run out to see, to be completely honest. It looked like they're trying to get the Bird Box audience back. That was the impression I got.
It 100% felt like that.
Yes.
It had the bird, like, it didn't have the stink of Bird Box all over it. And I mean, I know I rag on that movie a lot. I enjoyed the book better. And I'm not saying that to be an elitist, but the book is actually more interesting than the movie. But this is actually probably, I'd probably watch this again before I'd watch Bird Box again, because Bird Box it frustrates me with the logic or whatever they're trying to establish as rules, because it's just Calvin Ball. There are no rules. And Awake isn't that level, but it doesn't explain really anything. And I feel like, so everybody's dealing with chronic insomnia, and then the longer the days go on, the more the more out of it they become. Which I understand lack of sleep will do that, but I mean, there's not enough science backing up the reasons for all of this happening. Nobody says fucking prion once. That's all I'm asking for. And that was one of the things, like, I had commented on Twitter to the director that I always get my hopes up about prion diseases being weaponized. Give me that movie. I'll watch it. But no, we're going to go with EMP Blast. And I don't know enough about them to really get into that hard kind of science. So I mean, I know that sleep disturbances can be part of it, but not like, I'm just never going to sleep again. It's not fatal insomnia levels.
It just seems like there's too many ways to get yourself unconscious, that there's ways out of that situation.
There is actually a scene where, our main character, I believe she's played by Gina Rodriguez. So she used to be like an addict, and at this point in her life, I guess her husband's dead and her kids have been taken away and living with their grandmother. And, she sells pills on the side, but it seems like she's still an addict, because at one part, one of the pills was missing. So I'm like, No, you know how many pills you got. I've been addicted to opioids. We know. So, uh, this guy that she usually brings the drugs to, he's selling them on a college campus because everybody can't sleep, and they need something to wind them down, and that's not working. So whatever. Long story short, I'm just gonna spoil the movie for everybody. So if you want to know, you can stay. So Gina Rodriguez's daughter, who's played by Ariana Greenblatt, and that is the daughter of Sean Greenblatt from Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. He was John Doe. I mean, technically Jacob Johnson, but John Doe in the movie itself. We didn't get the Jacob Johnson thing until those not conspiracy theories, until that information came out later. So, I mean, that was cool. Kind of following her father's footsteps. And Gina Rodriguez's daughter can sleep. And the reason is because they were involved in a car accident at the beginning of the movie. And you don't find this out so much later, but she died and was resuscitated, and that's why she can sleep. So everybody just has to die and I guess be resuscitated, and it resets them, and then they can all sleep. And I'm like, what? That's the movie.
That's horrifically awful logic.
I know. Y'all are welcome.
It sounds like someone took their flatliners fetish to a whole new level.
I mean, I could be wrong. It seems like maybe you can just die and then wake up. Like, that's how you sleep. But that doesn't make any sense either. Neither one of those makes much sense.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be going near that. I just got finished watching, because I'm very late to the not fun party, Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It.
We should have led with that. That would have been way more entertaining than Awake.
No, listen, I'm not sure that's true. It's horrible. It's dull. It feels like a made-for-television movie in the early 90s, or perhaps just a long-running cop show decides to do their spooky Halloween episode.
Yeah.
But it's pretty fucking awful. It just feels like it's marketed towards people who go to see one horror film a year, and this is as dark as they'll ever get. And it's safe. It's fine. I mean, I thought the lighting in the film was pretty amazing, to be honest with you. There's a lot of cool things they were doing. Because I think the crew were bored. They knew what they were making. They're like, oh, let's make it look as good as we possibly can. The actors are all fine. They're all professionals. They do the job that they're asked to do, although some of the dialogue does them no favors whatsoever.
No.
But again, it's just one of those films where, on that level, on the kind of horror films for non-horror fans side of things, it's just like, your leads aren't dying. Anyone that they're setting off for a spin-off, because there's not a character that's clearly that in this, they're going to make it through safe. It's to me, it was so routine and boring and so bad for the genre, simply because this stuff gets the attention while little indie films suffer to get any exposure. And
you are very, very right.
If you like the franchise, you'll like it. Sure. Whatever. But for me, it's just lame. Very, very lame. This really is the Journey or Foreigner of rock and roll, right? You know all the beats. You know where it's going. They don't even put the band members on the album cover. It's just generic. It's made by a label executive. So whatever. Grew up more punk rock than that, so I can't really get down with The Conjuring.
I kind of feel like, I know this is not when you brought up Foreigner, and it kind of reminds me of kind of where Garbage is right now as a band, because I remember waiting with anticipation anytime they would release a new album, because at least they would experiment, and now it feels like a lot of it's very much the same. It's like version 2.0, but slightly watered down, like not as good as version 2.0, and not as strange as Beautiful Garbage. So I'm gonna probably get shit on for that, and it's whatever.
No, there's a conversation to be had there. I saw Garbage a ton of times when they were touring off the first two albums, because I love both those albums. I didn't love Beautiful Garbage, which I felt was just a kind of big pop record.
It was insanely poppy, but for me, like, I was already down with that because I do enjoy pop music. So, because it's sort of like marking different times in my life. But yeah, I mean, Beautiful Garbage is probably not for everybody, and I've seen it split opinions a lot.
Yeah. And Blood for Poppies is kind of just there. It feels like they're trying to do the first album again, but without the heart. I haven't heard the new one yet because I'm just terrified.
They have so many. It seems like every other year, there's another Garbage album coming out. And while I really love that for them, and I will buy that because I appreciate them as a band, not everything is great.
Well, no, and the funniest thing is that all the B sides off the first album that aren't on the album are like just so freaking amazing.
They
They're
are
a band
good.
that needs to put a B side collection out there for people because that was where they hit all the harder industrial sounding stuff and all the stuff that was more like if Sonic Youth embraced electronic music,
Yeah,
all the weird stuff, which is obviously really what I love. And the original version of Number One Crush, not the crappy version that's on the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack that everyone knows. The original version with all the guitars and all the weird samples. That was
yeah,
a B side, and like that's I think sonically one of the most interesting things released in the '90s.
yeah. I think Silence is Golden also started out as a B side, but then
Hmm.
came out on Beautiful Garbage.
Yeah. Um, I bet no one thought they were gonna tune into our show to hear about Shirley Manson for 10 minutes. But,
Whatever.
um,
Shirley Manson's awesome.
she is.
I
She
love
is.
her. She's wonderful.
I did want to take a moment and just point to the people who watch the stream live and those who will catch it later, and ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to spotlight three channels on YouTube from around the community that I want all of you to check out. Now, make yourself a list. Go there right now and come right back. That's fine. But please give these people a subscription, and you know these folks. But I know how tough it is to grow a channel, and you also want the right people to show up. And I know you guys are all the right people. So first off, the long-awaited and long overdue cable channel 11 from Jess Graham. Please go over, just getting his training wheels off, but the show already feels like home. Please go check it out. I subscribed and then I didn't get a notification for it, so that was awesome for his first episode, but we're going to fix that. Second of all, the Real Fifth Beatle, that's Mike from the UK. He has a really fun show where he does a lot of bracketing of eras and that kind of thing. He definitely is a guy that has a lot of knowledge and a lot of love for the genre, and I think we should show him some love back. And finally, another show that's just getting off the ground. Let's talk for a minute from MJ. This is exactly what the community needs, which is someone that's passionate and comes at things with a perspective. Now, he loves things that I don't love. That's damn sure true. But you know what? I'm really so happy that he's out there and fighting the fight on the tube. So please go to those three channels and give them a sub and leave the sub on until they get of a certain size at least, just because it really does help people out. YouTube is a tough business. It's tough to get eyes on. And I'll just add Sheebie Jeebies is a channel they should probably subscribe to as well, don't you think?
I mean, maybe I haven't put a video up in like 3 weeks.
But you
Does
have it
anybody
back.
want to have a recommendation? I'll just do a video over something. Just throw something out there.
Cafe Flesh, the X-rated remake. I'm dead serious.
Fine.
Thank you.
First, okay.
You will never get the song out of your head. That plays over the entire film.
Since we're kind of on the topic of music, why do the Killers and Last House on the Left have a theme song? Can somebody
Because
please? Nobody said it was going to be like this comedic.
and the road leads to nowhere. Yeah. Well, because David Hess was not just a great performer, actor. He was a great musician. So why wouldn't you do that?
Just it's a little. I mean, it kind of takes me out of the movie a bit. I mean, I understand why the decision was made, but I've been like I've had this movie hyped up for so long, and I'm not really into rape revenge movies since I am a victim of sexual assault, so not my favorite subgenre, and I'm like, it has to be really good for me to watch it more than once. So I'm like, I went into there and I'm like, what is this? What is going on? I mean, yeah, it's horrible, but
its reputation is different than its reality. That's definitely true. I mean, obviously the assault sequences in the beginning of the film are pretty brutal,
Oh yeah, no,
uh,
I won't. I want to disagree with that.
but the movie then does very transparently become a revenge fantasy, and
Yeah,
that's why the dentist dream sequence is in the film to alert you to that shift in narrative.
yeah,
But a lot of people, I don't know if they didn't get the memo on it, or if they just had headspace to see a different film than they got. But yeah, the second half of the film, definitely you can see a lot of Wes Craven's later films kind of peeking their head through the door and saying, "Hey, I'll be back," because there is a goofiness to some of the later stuff. I think it works way better. I think he had. I think Craven worked best when he had someone like a Cunningham to kind of reel him in from the crazier shit.
yeah.
Because if you think about it, like Cunningham has done some really crazy stuff in his career too. I mean, you don't make a film about a giant crustacean on the ocean's bottom as a sane filmmaker. But if you watch Deep Star Six, it's a very grounded film for what it
Oh
is. For its
yeah,
budget, it takes itself seriously and it has gravitas.
I like Deep Star Six quite a bit. I like Leviathan just a little bit more, but that's mostly my mother's fault because she's pretty much still in love with '80s Peter Weller. So I watched that movie a lot growing up, and I think that's gonna be a little bit higher up. Also, Ernie
Yeah.
Hudson,
Yeah, but Miguel Ferrer exploding.
but Ernie Hudson, and this is
Nah, no,
Ghostbusters
Miguel
2 Day.
Ferrer.
God damn it,
And BJ McKay, no bear, but BJ McKay. Come on.
Ernie
Ian
Hudson.
Peoples, come on.
No, I'm always here for Ernie Hudson. He's great in everything, and he's a fucking workhorse, and he's like in his 70s. I can't tell. I love my Grace and Frankie though. He's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, we should
I know
catch
I'm
up
just gonna
on
be fangirling over here.
these chats here.
I
Uh,
know. I'm sorry. We're just ignoring you
yeah. Well,
guys.
we're just talking genre. Dan says, "What do you guys think about the Severin announcements? I know you fought for Warhol's Dracula today." Well, I don't really want to go into the whole court of public opinion on private conversation from earlier, but Flesh for not Flesh for Frankenstein, Blood for Dracula was announced from Severin. And I mean, this is a film that had a Criterion release. It's one of the most infamous 70s midnight cult films of all time. Paul Morrissey's two films, Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood for Dracula, were really, really groundbreaking and really problematic for the film industry. Horror movies that came out with X ratings and earned those X ratings for their time. Both launched Udo Kier's career. This is pre Suspiria.
Yeah.
I think I need both of them. I think I need both those films. So I was pretty stoked. Now, I know there's some backlash against Severin for not going for a more mainstream or not feeding the kind of 80s nostalgia beast that people thought they were going to do. But to me, that's a good thing that we're not feeding what people expect.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, I haven't seen it obviously since I haven't seen most things, but I am always down to see stuff I haven't. Which, since we are on a Dracula mention, I finally got around to seeing Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I loved it. It was fucking wacky in some parts, but it was just there's so much love made with that movie is made with, and I thought it was it was like okay, I was not expecting Lucy, fucking the bat or the wolf or whatever the fuck whatever the hell that was. That was like not on my list at all. But I'm not going to complain. It was like a 2-hour music video. It was pretty beautiful.
Well, I mean, Coppola is incapable of not of making a boring film,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I mean, I guess I wish that Keanu definitely wasn't in the film, and I wish that Winona Ryder wasn't in the film either. I think that they look really, really outpaced by the older actors in the film.
Yeah,
I
I
do
mean,
like,
it's a little weird.
yeah, I like that we have Lucy Suiters back as they should be in the film. That's real cool. Um, but then you get the Suiters, which is awesome. and you even get the American stabbing Dracula, which is right from the book and awesome. But then you get the additional sequence, the oh, she kills him because she loves him sequence at the end, and I'm like, can we cut that out of the film? Because you were
I was
doing
just
good.
having flashbacks to Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned. I was waiting for Gary Oldman to bust out that hamburger. I would have
Oh,
appreciated that, but it's just like, how do you eat with that many prosthetics on your face?
can you imagine if Marvel had hired Coppola to adapt Dracula, Sovereign of the Damned as part of the
Into a live
MCU?
action movie?
As part of the MCU, yeah.
Oh my god! I mean, I don't. I know Morbius is like somebody said it was gonna be in the MCU. I think it was Tyrese, but then it's not in the MCU. It's just, I guess, part of the weird Sony Spider-Man verse.
It's the kind of
That's
sort
the
of if you
closest we're
squint.
gonna get.
Yeah.
Are there any other vampires in the MCU that I can't think of besides Morbius? I'm sure
Blade.
there. I mean, not besides Dracula, obviously.
Well, inside Tomb of Dracula, there was a lot of vampires. Um,
You know
but
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Main character
I don't know.
wise. We're not counting Blade here.
I'm
Only
told
half.
because I didn't. I don't. I didn't read like the superhero stuff, but I'm told that at some point, Doctor Strange cast a spell that blinked all the vampires out of existence. That's how they dealt with them not being around at a certain point when they didn't want them. So,
I love comics.
oh yeah, yeah. It's
There
a
are
thing.
no rules.
And just as you were not expecting Lucy to get her business on with a werewolf, Steak says he'll never watch Bird Box because he's not down with bestiality. MJ
Okay.
says he watched Awake. I saw it all the way through, but it was very exhausting. I didn't like it.
No, I mean, it feels very tiring because I'm watching a whole bunch of people be very tired. And I watched this at 4 in the morning, so I too was very tired. They really kind of also being crap. I lost my train of thought because I saw Stone talking about the Return to Vampire poster. So
Yeah,
Return to Vampire, this is from a company called Displates, Displates, and I'm not getting paid to say that. This is just part of our home decor. We have a whole bunch of them. We've got actually the 4 Ghostbusters that we haven't put up yet, but they're the actors, but they're done as the animated characters. It's a little hard to explain unless you actually go to the website and check it out. But very cool company. They've got some sick vaporwave art too. I was talking about Awake, wasn't I?
yeah, we had to return to Awake because MJ says he was not digging it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I thought was kind of weird about that movie, and this is the last I'll have to say on it, I swear, but with every character being extremely tired in the movie, I felt like it gave the writers or writer a little bit too much leniency with being lazy on the dialogue.
Hollywood
So,
and dialogue, man. If there's one workshop they need. Jonathan asks, "Are you?" And I'm gonna say this question for both of us. Are you a Gigi Allen fan?
I am not. I don't
I,
know enough about Gigi Allen to be or not be a fan.
I have a couple Gigi Allen records from back in the day because if you grew up in New Jersey, New York, or Connecticut, he was obviously very, very, very important to the scene at the time. But no, you'd have to be insane to actually be a fan of the music because it's bad, really, really, really bad. I respect that he was kind of like the most extreme version of punk. He was like, if you took all the bad stuff that Sid Vicious represented and amplified it to criminal levels, that was Gigi Allen. So rather than Sid just accidentally cutting his chest on stage and bleeding for a show, this is a guy who would roll on glass for the fuck of it. You know?
Was he ever a pro wrestler?
No, that he would never have been allowed in. I mean, he'd wear a jockstrap on stage, defecate on stage, and throw it at the audience.
That happens on a lot of indie shows.
That's kind of his.
I mean, at
thing.
least behind the scenes.
Dan says that The Conjuring has run out of steam now. I'm not sure there was all that much steam to begin with. That first film looks and feels good until it doesn't for me. The second film I loathed. All of the spin-offs except for the second Annabelle I thought were awful. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot to say with the Conjuring thing.
I just want my Crooked Man. That's all I'm asking for.
MJ says, I think we've had enough Conjuring films. I think we've had one more than enough.
We're on like 8. I saw all these motherfuckers on Twitter doing the rankings and the countdowns. I'm like, stop it. I know there are a lot.
Yeah. Dan says Mike did his debut episode on his favorite horror music.
That's
I know,
awesome.
and I would have loved to participate in that, but again, YouTube didn't let me know it was even happening. So. He's also saying Mike is a great guy who could use more subs. Absolutely. Again, I'm all about a diversity of opinion more than anything else. Anything else about diversity, I don't really give a crap about because I judge everyone in my life one on one. You're either a good person or a bad person. Everything else is irrelevant to me. But Mike's a good guy, and he can give us a lot of the British perspective because definitely it's a different society with a different point of view and a different history. So, very, very valuable viewpoint to have out there. We need to give him a lot of love. Jamie says hi. People are saying hello to Jamie. People are saying giving love to Orc. There you go. And Jess is saying he broke 100 views today and added a few more subscribers.
Fuck yeah.
Well, let's see what we can do about that. Let's make some noise, people. And Jess also says he liked Bird Box. Worth a watch at least once. Liked it better than A Quiet Place. I'm not gonna compare them left to right. I just don't know how to do that.
I personally really dislike Sandra Bullock as an actress if it's not comedy. I think she's great in comedies, except for maybe All About Steve. That's terrifying. But I watched her in Gravity because everybody was like, "Ooh, she won the Oscar for." I'm like, "This movie's terrible."
Yeah, that movie
can't carry a film by herself.
Yeah, no, that movie is nuts bad.
Mm-hmm.
Orc is asking, is pizza good in San Antonio? Asking for a friend.
Honestly, you come to San Antonio, you come for the Mexican food. We have all of the good Mexican food, but don't go to Taco Cabana, don't go to Taco Bell. You want to go find the little mom and pop Jalisco's, the taquerias. That's where you want to go for Mexican food. Any hole in the wall. Pizza, we have Chicago Pizza and a couple of spots in San Antonio. That'd probably be the best place to go. I know my food. That's the best part about San Antonio.
Jess is saying that he would have liked to have me there. We talked about doing part 2 on the topic, horror theme music, not too long down the road. I'll make sure you get the. I would love that. I would love that. I mean, my 2 biggest loves are well, actually, my 3 biggest loves are about equal. Is horror fiction, horror films, and music, specifically rock and roll. So, I would love to be in that conversation. There you go.
Yep.
Stone says she accepted a Razzie in person.
I think Halle Berry also did when she got hers for Catwoman.
You know what? I like when actors do that because we all had jobs where you screw something up and you're made to go in to talk to the boss about it, right? And I like the idea of that actors have that same process,
Yeah, I mean, as far as Razzie films go, something like All About Steve and Catwoman, I put most of the blame on the script.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, but I feel like, I know that there's the script is not going to be the finished product that you're seeing on screen. Everything can change, but I put a lot of responsibility on the writers and the director. Not always on the actors. They're just kind of there.
Jamie, you are incorrect. My favorite song is not "Pop Goes the World" by Men in Hats. Although I will say that I own Pop Music by M on a 7-inch. So you're not that far off.
What is your favorite song? Is it Happy Birthday?
Nope, absolutely not. My favorite song is a song by Helen Reddy called Angie Baby. It's the creepiest frickin' song in rock history.
Okay.
There's a few of them. There's a song called by the band The Boys called Oh, you see how much I listen to it that I can't even think of the song's name. It's a song about being trapped in a mine and eating one of the miners to survive.
That kind
Uh,
of reminds me of I watched The Devil Below earlier. It just came out on Netflix. I don't know if that's another original. And yeah, it's about a mine accident, but apparently, I guess it opened up a portal to hell because you've got a whole bunch of dudes in Cthulhu suits, like actual guys in suits in a 2021 movie, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm kind of excited, but this also looks kind of terrible. Also, the lighting's all weird and wonky. I'm still kind of digesting it. I think it had potential, but maybe I just kind of couldn't get into it.
I could see that. I could definitely see that.
I'd give it a shot. Like, I would go and judge for yourselves because when was the last time you saw a guy in a guy in a fucking suit in a horror movie being a monster? When? Not movies that you've watched that are old recently, like current movies.
That's a good point. I'm not sure. I would. I don't know. Music is a very weird subject for me, though, because I like. I tend. It is Nico Timothy. Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking. Yeah, I can sing it if you want. It's a song. It's really creepy. It's a song about miners get stuck in a mine, and when they get pulled out, none of them will answer the question about where Timothy went. But there's lines about like these guys, their stomach was growling, and they were looking ominously at Timothy, and Timothy doesn't come out of the mine. So it's pretty great. I mean, there was a time when you could do creepy pop music.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to a lot of harder stuff now, but not exclusively. Like, I'm a big Heather Nova fan, you know? So I'm the guy who's just as likely to buy a lot of post hardcore as, you know, Heather Nova or. I'm trying to think of the softer. Well, I still love the Cowboy Junkies. I'll still listen to them. Margot Timmons' voice is one of the most amazing things ever recorded. So I mean, I'm all over the place, but it's because I love kind of all of rock and roll. I don't love everything in rock and roll because you have to have a place in hell for bands like Limp Bizkit. But I love all of it. You know.
I think
I'm excited. I'm just excited that Nico knows the boys. Boys.
Nico knows everything. We've had this discussion.
Yeah, really.
Fount of knowledge.
That's the channel it needs to start. Hint, 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 hint.
I can't raise my eyebrows any higher. They only go so high.
So I bought something this week.
Oh, what'd you buy?
I bought a UHD 4K copy of Godzilla vs. King Kong, or Godzilla vs. Kong, and it came with a slip cover.
And we know what we do to slip covers.
That's right.
Ooh, rip the slip.
You know, it's a tough one, though. It's like really glossy.
I
really, really, really love this movie.
I still haven't seen it.
It brings me right back to being a kid, and you know, I mean, as a kid, there weren't really Godzilla toys that I could just go out and buy. If I'd been born like 8 years earlier, there would have been, or if I'd been born 12 years later, there would have been a ton of them. But I was in that donut hole where there weren't Godzilla toys. But there really weren't horror toys. There was nothing. Universal Monsters weren't even represented in the toy stores.
Yeah.
So I'm really jealous of all those kids that got that stuff. But in my head, I would always, you know, daydream about monster fights with kaiju. And then I'd watch the films when they came on UHF stations in the middle of the day on a Saturday. And so it brought me right back there. And the whole, you know, new series from Legendary has done that.
Yeah.
The MonsterVerse has been very successful at my nostalgia, so I have no complaints.
Exactly. I don't think I bought anything this lately. Nico's upset you ripped the slip.
He is. He said that he will die on that hill.
I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to get into this. Let's see. I didn't buy anything. All I did was I got rid of some hair. I cut off 6 inches and it's still this long. At least it's not a nightmare anymore.
Yeah, but you see, I encourage hair. That's a nightmare, so.
It's exhausting. I do have a lot of physical media all of a sudden in the way of books that I realized. And I had to do the tally, of all the books that I'm currently reading, and I realized I'm reading 7 books because 3 of them are exist in real life, and 4 of them are on my Kindle. So I'm sort of like, what did I do? What's wrong with me? Just finish one and then move to the other. So
I've never been good at that.
It depends on the book.
I just kind of read one thing at a time.
The last book I devoured was The Soul of an Octopus. It's just a book about octopuses.
Okay.
It's really interesting. I learned a ton. There's an octopus church somewhere on these little islands, somewhere out in I forget where, but yeah, octopus church. Because I think I fell down an octopus rabbit hole at one point, and I started with Joe Rogan clips, and then I started thinking, can octopuses control time? And then I found this book. Are you Googling that?
No.
I'm worried now. I don't It's true. Long live the octopus.
There we go. So there's some debate about ripping slips. Jess Graham says, I loved Godzilla vs. Kong. My whole family went back to the theater for the first time in over a year to see it. Just a damn fun movie. Yeah, it really is. And I will say that it's such a colorful film and such a bright film. And that's something that a lot of people complained about the previous films in this Godzilla series. They kind of went completely in the opposite direction for this and said, you want your brightly colored Godzilla film? Here you go. And I will tell you, the disc is pretty amazing. The fight in the Neon City at the end is pretty astounding. And the fight on the water is unbelievable. It looks great. So it's a good disc to actually buy in the premium format, even though nowhere had it on sale for anything decent. I got really used to buying like the UHDs for maybe $22, $24 at the worst.
Yeah.
And no one had this friggin' thing for any decent price. So I probably should have waited, but
fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many movies that I just bite the bullet for full price, so whatever, I did it.
We've all done that. There have been new release Tuesdays where some of us were just like waiting for those DVDs to hit Target shelves just so we could scoop them up.
Orc is saying, you like Bring Me the Horizon. They are aight. They are aight.
I haven't heard them, but I have friends that really like them.
The last year they put out, they called it an EP, but it really might as well have been an LP. It was 9 songs long, so hell, that's longer than a Megadeth album. So anyway, it's called Posthuman Survivalist something. The single is Parasite Eve, which is one of the most creative hard rock songs in such a long time. And yes, it's based on the manga, but that was made into a film. That was made into 7 different things in a video game.
Speaking of such things, did anybody see the little teaser for Uzumaki? The anime?
I love the film. I love the movie, but no, I haven't.
It's beautiful. It looks like the moving manga. It's amazing. I just need to stay alive for another 1.5 years at least. Just so I can watch it. That's my short-term goal. Stay alive that long.
There you go. Hey, considering the last 18 months or so, it's not an unreasonable goal. Most people were kind of had similar goals, I think.
That's true. I spent most of last year having a nervous breakdown, so.
Orc is simply stating 6 inches.
Yes, we've had, my husband and I made that joke as well about cutting off 6 inches, and it would still be long.
I'm thinking his joke is a little different.
Probably.
Again, more Jamie saying she has ripped slips. Even Exorcist 2. Well, frankly, if you're going to start ripping slips somewhere, Exorcist 2 is a great place to start. I think you could probably bring it to a show and Linda Blair would rip it for you. Which would actually be a really cool. I should definitely see about that. course, I'd have
We
to
should
buy a
just
copy of that movie.
find a way to do a giant internet flash mob of everybody ripping a slip.
Absolutely, and then send it around to companies saying, don't give us movies, not cardboard."
Stop killing all the trees.
Big Crack Rock says, "I just coat my slips in tar." It sounds like a rap lyric I don't understand.
It sounds like drug use that I don't understand.
This is true.
I mean, his name is Big Crack Rock.
Yeah. Griffin says, "I am ripping the slip cover for The Dead Zone. That thing is atrocious." Yeah, it is some of the worst art. But I don't think it's going to have reversible art to the original one sheet. So I have the feeling like it's time to get creative and make your own, because that is some bad collage art. For a Cronenberg film based on a King novel, I think you can spread a few extra dollars if you have to have new art to do something nice. But you know what? Really, just give us the goddamn original poster art. It's not that hard. Jamie wants to know if you've seen the OA, Sam. There is a very interesting tie-in to octopus and time travel.
No, but I will, but I will now, because I knew I was right. I knew octopuses had something to do with time. I think it came about because I was thinking, well, like an octopus has 8 arms, and then there are 8 Sabbats on the whole Wiccan calendar. So I'm like, that has to mean something. I may or may not have been in an altered state at the time.
Or just like having that many arms is really useful in the ocean. So, natural selection. Stone is asking. Hello, Stone. Oh, that's not Stone. Stone is asking, "Hey, Lauren, are you planning to go to the New Jersey HorrorCon this year in September or November?" Interestingly, I bought tickets for a show at New Jersey HorrorCon last year that didn't happen. So I really should, I guess. We're going to see where my life is at closer to that. There's also the same group as is doing a Pennsylvania Horror Con that's actually way closer to my home. I think in like 2 months. I think it's August they're doing that. Which is the headliners are all like Rob Zombie Halloween alumni. That doesn't have me that thrilled, but I'm gonna try. I say that, but I'll probably, as long as I don't have other important engagements, I'll be there. Jess says, "I know, Nico. I'm sorry. Lauren's argument about the unnecessary frills and social media release makes sense, though." Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Orc says, "Ireland."
That is a place I would like to go. I am Irish.
Nico says, "It's not a horror film per se, but the great Peter Lorre film, The Face Behind the Mask, just got a Blu-ray release. I've waited 40 years for it. Have you seen it? P.S. Amazing slipcover." I haven't. I'm not sure I'm even terribly aware of it. I know I disappoint you a lot, Nico. I know that. Orc says, "Sup, boy," as AC/DC would say, "have a drink on me."
A drink of caffeine. Because neither one of us has any alcohol.
There is alcohol in the house because I had friends over last weekend, but no, it's not.
You don't
I'm not
have
gonna drink it.
Warren.
I have like 2 friends. No, I have friends.
I know.
I
The
have
cats
people,
don't count as friends, though.
I have people who claim to like me. I keep them supplied in pizza when they visit, so they stick around for a while and talk. Griffin is saying, "Sam has bought the Nightmare on Elm Street series for each type of physical media on the release date, and that includes VHS."
I wish. I wish that I had gotten the VHS of, I think it was Nightmare 1 and 2, and they had the alternate cuts for the end of Nightmare 1. I wish I had picked that up in Best Buy when I saw it way back in the day, like it still haunts me. And I wish I still had the original DVD set that had the cool 8th disc where you could just wander around and look at all the features.
Oh, I'll send that to you.
Huh?
I have it. I'll send it to you.
I'll never really.
I'll never
you
watch
have
it.
that?
Yeah, I have it. I bought that. I bought that entire set for $12 used. So.
God, Oh my god. It was definitely like one of those, when it came out, it was definitely one of those Christmas and birthday presents. It was worth it.
It's funny. I've only ever watched the first film out of that set, like because I don't really like the rest of the series. But I bought the whole set because I was like, wow, I don't actually own the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and the whole set's cheaper than buying just the individual movie. So I guess I'm doing that.
Yeah. Like, that's kind of why I can't bring myself to buy another Nightmare on Elm Street set, because I just want that one disc in it. And right now, all the movies are on HBO Max, so I'm like,
I'll dig it out. I'll absolutely send it to you because it's not it's not enriching my life at all.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it, because I haven't
N-
seen those extras in 4 years.
Nico wants Stone to watch Face Behind the Mask as well.
Stone my face?
Stone my
Oh,
face.
okay.
Stone Gasman my face. That sounds even worse. We're not going to do
Giving Stone Gasman a face.
it. Oh, this is getting rowdy in here.
I know.
Sean McManus says, Sam is also Irish. I told you the Irish are taking over.
Well, I'm mostly Swedish. My grandfather was full Swedish on my dad's side. So it's mostly that, and then I've also got German and Bohemian. Probably some Romanian wandering around in there.
I'm
Yep.
a big mutt of things, but if by percentage, I have more Greek in me than anything else, but then Welsh is right behind it. And then there is a smorgasbord of places after that.
I could see the Greek for sure.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, and I can make breakfast at any time of the day, so that's where you see the Greek in me.
Well, I mean, Brenner. You got to do Brenner. It should be like a law.
Hello Laundry says, the trees know what they did.
Laundry, have you been watching Evil Dead again?
Hey, trees have needs too. Stop.
Still so uncomfortable. I'm just
But
gonna like skip the 27-minute mark altogether.
I remember on the very first commentary that Bruce Willis did for Evil Dead, for the Laserdisc for Elite, he goes, I never understood why women don't like this. Oh, that's probably why.
I really want to like Bruce Campbell more, but it's just like he's such an asshole, and the asshole in me recognizes that, and it's like, no, there's only room for one asshole here, and it's got to be me first. I think that's why.
I think I think the shtick works for what it is. It's kind of a weird, like, sometimes a stand-up comedian will play against the crowd for the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of does that, and I think it works. The problem is he's been doing it on the circuit for 30 years.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you just gotta go into a different role as just kind of the elder statesman of that era, and I mean, it's kind of where he needs to go next.
Yeah, when Robert Englund dies, he'll probably take up that throne. Mantle.
Probably.
Mantle
Yeah.
throne mantle.
I can't throw a mantle. I'd throw my back out. Definitely.
We don't want you to try.
I could take a sledgehammer to an altar to get rid of a curse, because that apparently is a thing that would work.
Fuck that ending. Just fuck all of fuck all of whatever that kind of logic was. Whatever they're trying to make happen. That Lorraine, no, you're not that strong of a clairvoyant if you are one at all.
She's the worst clairvoyant ever, if you think
She
about
just
it.
fucking became Jean Grey in The Conjuring 3. Also, we have to talk about Lorraine's hair. Her hair has, like, the level of anxiety happening in her hair is pretty much like the level of anxiety I feel on a daily basis. I totally empathize with Lorraine's hair.
So I desperately, they need to make one more Conjuring film, despite the fact that I don't want them to. In the main franchise, not the spin-offs. And they need to do it because they have to, because this one took place in 81. So they need to make one that happens at least in 85 or 86, because they need to use the Megadeth song The Conjuring over the end credits of the last movie.
You're probably going to get your wish.
Oh. When did I say Bruce Willis?
Lauren or Lorraine?
Now I'm really confused. Borderline 11. Tell me when I said Bruce Willis, because I I don't remember doing it, but I probably did. A lot of things I don't remember in life when you're old. Um, Orc is saying, fuck the British.
Well,
There's a
I
lot of
mean,
ways
you
I could
did
take
that
that.
1776.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Nico, we haven't talked censor yet because I haven't seen it yet. This weekend got away from me, and I'm desperate to see it. Um, it really is the thing that's killing me that I haven't seen at the moment. That and Chatter Mirkam, which is the Indian film that got away from me when the theater sold me a ticket and let me sit in the theater without actually having the movie to watch. But those two are the ones that I'm most, I don't know, just dying out of my head to see. I love the concept. I think that the idea of a woman who's deeply invested in her job as a British censor back in the video nasties days, but is kind of projecting and having nightmares and thinking her sister might be in a snuff movie. It all sounds just awesome to me. So I'm down.
I feel vibes of Videodrome.
Videodrome, Jacob's Ladder,
Yeah.
but also like kind of like the maybe something like a slasher oriented version of Company of Wolves with that
Mm-hmm.
kind of storytell like rhyming logic to it.
Okay.
So I'm down. That's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, I don't know if the theaters will still be playing it for this weekend. That had it within a reasonable commute for me, but if so, I'll try to make it happen. It does start streaming on Friday, so I don't actually have to leave the house. It's just I prefer to see things in theaters.
That's usually more fun.
Yeah. Jamie says Lorraine always wore her hair in that tight bun or twist. Talk about brain pain. I like my hair loose and flowing like a good hippie.
Yep. For real. Like, ponytail pain and bun pain. These are all real things that happen. Like, I'm pretty like for a while Chris had his hair in like a little man bun, and I'm pretty sure he's gotten a headache from that. I mean, it looks great on him, but yeah, it's definitely not a comfortable hairstyle. The only reason my hair is not up right now is because I have a wall behind me and it wouldn't work. I'd be in the same amount of pain. It would just be hitting the back of my skull, or right at the edge.
Daily Ghost is saying I saw censor as part of SIFF was disappointed. Now that's not words I wanted to hear, but it sounds honest.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'd rather see something ambitious that fails than something like Conjuring again that doesn't try to do anything new but looks good and is well made but has
Mhm.
nothing new to say. So
I like it when they try.
yeah, well, how about that? And Stone is happy that Jamie said like a good hippie. I'm not convinced that good hippie is a real thing.
Dirty hippies are. And
Oh, that's
honestly, when I first saw Jamie's chat come in, I was like, I read in hippie, but I thought, I mean, I read hippie after the fact, but out of the corner of my eye, it looked like nipple, and I was like, wait, what? Like a good nipple?
like a good nipple.
Stop it!
State
I was
Farm
gonna
is
stop it.
there.
Now that was already in my head.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. No, so but Jamie's like a upstate New York hippie though, so that's a whole different thing.
Okay, well, we don't have any of those down here. Although I did see somebody parked in our neighborhood with a New York State plate, and it was fucking weird. Like,
Yeah.
what y'all doing down here?
I might actually be deathly allergic to patchouli. I have nothing to base that on. I've never gotten sick from being around it, but I think it feels like it should be true.
Yeah.
Nico says, I thought Spiral was the first two-thirds of a decent Saw entry. Um, I actually really like Spiral. I think that Spiral gets more right than wrong, which for modern Hollywood is kind of an amazing, amazing thing. Um, let's put it this way: it wanted to be a film surrounding a character, and if you think about the Saw franchise, that's not usually true. Usually, the characters are conduits to take you on a roadmap through set pieces. And usually the characters you don't see, i.e., Jigsaw or the Unseen Apprentice, it's kind of their story. In
Hmm.
this case, it's not. Like Chris Rock really does own the movie. And
Yes.
that's a storytelling leap that the series has not done before. I think there's a lot of things it tried to do to change things, even though it obviously wanted to be part of a franchise, so it needed to keep a lot the same. I think it's pretty successful. I think it's going to age really well, though.
I agree. I think once we come back to it, because I still haven't gone and watched it a second time since the first time was that shitty torrent. But I did appreciate what Chris Rock was doing. I just felt like it was just very predictable for the plot.
Oh
But
yeah,
Chris Rock is really good in it, and it is about him. It is his movie.
I think that we've never had a character like that in a Saw movie.
Yeah.
You know, someone who does relieve tension just in order to like break up the monotony of the intense scenarios, right? I also like the fact that, and this is gonna sound really odd, but it's something in my own fiction that's really important to me, is that I don't like when you set up tribal lines of okay, these are the good characters and these are the bad characters, and the good characters hate everything the bad characters represent, and the bad characters feel the same way. I like how there's relationships in the film that are muddy, they're gray. You know, it's okay without spoiling the movie. Like you can think your boss is dead wrong, but still literally risk your life to try and save her.
Yeah.
I like that sort of thing because that's the world that we kind of live in.
Yeah. That death scene was also very like that had the most impact on me, I would say. Well, that's kind of a spoiler. Whatever. Nobody really lives in the Saw movies. If you get caught in a trap, you're pretty much done for the most part.
Unless you're Hoffman. Then you get like stuck in a bunch of them and you keep escaping. Which that was the point where I actually started liking Hoffman. Because at first I did not like the character. And then when I realized like they were leaning into, oh, this is the guy you don't like. So we're going to have him survive everything. I'm down. You know, I love the character now because
Yeah.
he's like, he's working against the fans. Awesome.
Yeah.
When he killed Jill, I was like, oh, I love it because you knew the fans were going to be pissed about it. I was like, awesome, cool, and we finally got to see the reverse bear trap work. So even if it was a bad digital effect, which whatever,
True.
fuck that film for that. But let's see, Jamie is saying, patchouli does smell terrible. Cool. I appreciate that you're not hanging with your hippie brethren on the patchouli issue.
I'm more of a sandalwood gal myself. It's always a very solid incense smell scent. I wanted to say incense scent, but then I was like, that sounds redundant.
That sounds like you're sleeping with your dad or something, to be honest.
Sandalwood?
Incense, all of it.
Oh, god damn it. Wow, I was not
But that's where you went,
over
so-
my head.
So I don't have a sense of smell. I know I've mentioned this before, but cauterized my nose as a kid because I had too many nosebleeds at like 1 or 2 years old. So they just like, because it was the 70s, the height of medical technology was heat up a probe, stick it up this kid's nose, and burn out everything that's there. No more nosebleeds. Awesome. Also, no sense of smell because no more taste buds in your nose, which is how you smell.
So if you had a dead body in your house, you wouldn't be able to tell unless you stumbled over it.
No, I can't tell you many times at work I've been in buildings where like a light burns out, fluorescent bulbs will burn out. More, it's not actually the bulb; it's the regulator next to it. I can't remember what they're called, but they burn out. Supposedly, they have a very specific scent.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's one of those things. If you have something burnt out, you want to kind of replace that.
Yeah.
And it's a safety issue, and I have no way to do that. I have no way to identify the problem until the light actually goes out and I can see it. But when they start to go out and burn out, no clue. I'm also I'm baffled by stores that sell scented products, and that's their thing. Like oh, this store sells hand creams and hand soaps, and they're scented, and there's like 40 million of them in the store of different colors. And I'm walking through them to buy a gift, and I'm like, so what's blue smell like? And they're like, well, the label says,
Juniper.
Okosh Evening. And I'm like, well, I've never eaten Okosh Evening, so I have no way to process that at all.
I'm not a fan of candles that have names that correlate to things like time. I'm not okay with that because you can't smell time. And I mean, TIME, not THYME. That's different. But yeah, I don't like candles that smell like events. I've seen candles that smell like ridiculous things like angel whispers. How do you smell that? So I'm not okay with that. I'm okay with things like if it's birthday cake, I'll allow that, or anything like that. Just not other time-related events.
See, I need that because I need to have a taste that I can associate and then know. Because th- people always think that I don't have a sense of taste because I lost my sense of smell. I don't know why they think that. All the taste buds are still in my mouth. They didn't burn them out. But people, it's a very similar um, sense, I guess. So when someone gives me like, oh, this smells, what does it smell like that I've eaten? And like, oh well, it smells like uh, cherry ice cream topping, and I'll be like, okay, I can do that now, right?
Yeah.
And I might be completely wrong, but it gives me a sense of the ballpark it's in.
Yeah. I was just thinking it might be the worst or the best horror movie if your character didn't have a sense of smell. It would be like a really stupid version of Hush.
Or Koli Mier Kalam,
Or any
which is
other
the
any other.
Indian remake of Hush, which if you haven't seen is a fascinating film with Nayanthara in it. The first hour is really slow, and then it decides to be just a hardcore chase from there to the end, and that's like it's another hour 15 of just the final girl chase.
Nice.
It's insane. And there was a remake in Telugu, which with a different cast, which I have not seen yet. Okay, so Stone says that every time someone says sandalwood, the Lisa Loeb song plays in his head. I don't think having Lisa Loeb in your head is ever a bad thing.
No, she's great. I really like Stay. I also enjoyed I Do, but I didn't really care for Firecracker as an album overall.
And Ghost is asking to expand and amend his previous statement by saying, I looked at my rating and apparently I did like Censor. Gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterbox. Jesus, my memory is crap. Well, that makes me
Nice.
happy to hear. And it also is a good endorsement for Letterbox, which I have a Letterbox. Everyone can follow me over there. I don't log into it ever because I got to the point where I realized I didn't know what the hell I was doing it for. No one was really reading my reviews on there. So, I don't know. If you guys are really interested in Letterbox, I'll go and try it again. But,
Do it. Write us reviews.
oh, yeah.
Slave away for us.
There is a review of Aliens on my Letterbox. So
Of course there is.
you should definitely go read.
I'll do it like a slam poem.
Diego says, when I drank, I smelled 3 a.m. a lot.
Nah, man, that's amateur hour. You gotta drink until you black out at 9 and then wake up the next morning for work at like 5 or 6. That's how you do it.
That does sound like the way to do it if you're going to.
I mean, unless it's like your blood sugar spiking at 3 a.m. because, metabolism.
So the big question I would have for you is Lisa Loeb versus Sixpence None the Richer.
I'm gonna go with Lisa Loeb. I mean,
Correct answer. Good guy.
they have one song that I know of, and that's only because it was all over the place in 1997. I literally have, like, the Cardigans have more than that.
That's true. MJ wants to know what we think of the new Purge movie. I'm betting
I'll
there's a
let you
bunch
go
of.
first because I haven't seen the trailer, but I have my own opinions on the Purge movies.
I bet there's a lot of people in really scary masks illuminated by a bonfire in the background in that movie because they all have that. I like the second and third Purge movies just fine. They kind of had a John Carpenter like Escape from New York feel to me, and then they kept making them and made a television series, and I just kind of feel like unless you're going to do something really bold and different, I don't know if I need another Purge movie. That said, I'll buy a ticket and I'll watch it, but I kind of feel like unless they do something really different, and the new one seems like it might be adding a certain level of preachiness to its already kind of blatant politics, which was fine. I don't mind that the films were political in the way that a John Carpenter film is political, but this one seems like it's embracing all the slogans, and I'm not sure I'm going to be terribly happy with that.
I'll hate watch it and then rip on it later for sure. Because, I don't know what it's about, but I'm like, we're getting another Purge movie, and it's the year 2021. Fuck. This is going to be it's going to beat me over the head with something, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be pissed off going into the movie and pissed off leaving the movie.
there's gonna be a guy walking onto a stage in a white mask with a cross drawn in blood on it, who's gonna walk up to a mic and say, "Thank you for coming to my TED Talk." That's the new Purge movie. That's what I'm gonna pitch to Blumhouse.
God, we should make that a skit.
We should
Yeah.
definitely.
Nah, it's just like I want to see Election Year, and I never got around to seeing Election Year, which is a shame. I like the first Purge movie. I think I didn't see 3, and I think I saw 4 in the theater because I'm an asshole. And I was not into it, and I don't know what Purge movie this is. I think it's 5, maybe? Forever Purge Forever? Forever Purge? But I don't know why we need another one. You know, we've got the series, which I don't know why we have that either, but we have several movies and a TV show. Stop making these movies. If I wanted another Purge movie, I would just go on Twitter and see who's rioting. Like, show me Portland. Oh, look, it's the Purge again.
Well, you know what? That would
There
be
last
hilarious. Someone should really just cut a Purge trailer using real footage of last year.
I'm 100% sure that exists on YouTube somewhere. I just have to find it.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, somebody's done that.
Jay the Stingray says, "I want to see Ed all strung out on coke."
Ed who?
I don't know.
Mr. Ed? That'd be cool.
Ed Gein?
Ed Warren.
Ed Warren.
Is he a cokehead?
Oh, that would be great.
I mean, that would explain all of his heart problems, right?
Well, in real
I
life,
don't know
the man
all
was
of
like
it.
350 pounds, too, so.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, their film counterparts don't actually resemble the real thing at all.
No, I thought, like, if John Ritter was still alive, he would have been an excellent Ed Warren. Because I saw a picture of Ed Warren, I was like, damn, it looks like John Ritter. I miss that fucker. He was so good.
Nico says, what? Nico says, if we're doing musical versus 10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant versus Mary Ramsey, he's saying he's Team Ramsey. I would agree with that. But I would say that I'm Team Margot Timmons and the Cowboy Junkies are beat any incarnation of 10,000 Maniacs.
I mean, I don't want to say I mean, for me, like, I didn't know what 10,000 Maniacs were when Natalie Merchant, like, when I first heard Natalie Merchant on VH1 as a kid, because that's what I would do. I went to because apparently, as an old soul, you just go to VH1 for your music growing up, and that's how you learn about all the stuff that's not cool.
And that's how you got your first crush on Bret Michaels.
Ugh. No, that was that. Okay, that was way later after I was busy working 2 jobs and trying to go to school. Much later.
I think that's VH1's true mission in life is to try and create a female fan base for Bret Michaels.
All I want is Flavor of Love season 3. It's all I want because we need New York back somehow.
Yeah. Captain Halloween is saying hello, everyone. Be careful
Hello,
about
Captain.
saying everyone. Like most people, yeah, but there's a few you don't want to associate with. Orc is saying Jay the Pepsi size array. Stone says, I worked nights as a telemarketer and killed long hours of no phone calls with Mr. Ed.
Yep. Just like in the middle of the night, watching those old reruns on Nick at Night. Fuck yeah.
Can't make me watch a television show about a horse. Ain't happening.
What about Dobie Gillis? No?
No. Stone says, John Ritter is one of the only 2 celebrities I cried when they died. The other was Christopher Reeve. A horse killed Christopher Reeve, so there you go. Well, paralyzed him, and that's why he died.
It all comes full circle. Horses are assholes.
They are. They're horrible, horrible animals.
I mean, come on. Like, what was that show with Nathan Fillion and fucking Barney from How I Met Your Mother? Where the villain was Bad Horse? I know one of you guys in the chat knows what I'm talking about. I think Nathan Fillion played Captain Hammer. I'm just putting out.
I think you're making all this up, but I love it. MJ says, Sam, my thoughts too. Wrong time to bring a new Purge movie.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about it though? If you think about it, like Spiral just kind of hit on all those hot budget issues without being an asshole about it.
I agree.
Like, It's so Purge is going to come in here like just swinging its dick all over the place, and it's going to be a
It's
horrible,
just gonna
horrible
be like,
broad.
and it's not gonna be like the classy way of dick swinging where it's just like you haul it over your shoulder, right? Like, right, and then right on the table. It's just gonna be like all over the place and leaking, and nobody wants to see it. Just
and
making
and
a mess.
and that just reminds me that folks, if you haven't seen Welcome Home, Brother Charles, you need to pick up that out of print Vinegar Syndrome disc now and fix that in your life, because it is a movie about a gentleman who kills people with his python-sized penis. So
Again, that's just a porno plot.
um, I'm not going to disagree with you, but what I'll say is it's a fascinating film. Uh,
I don't
Nico
know why my
says,
mind went to Uzumaki after that. Weird.
Nico says Spiral entertained first, no Frank Capra BS. Good to see some Spiral love.
I
It's not
did
a perfect
definitely
film,
enjoy the
but
first scene.
it's not a perfect film, but you know what? It's a film that I think is way better than it probably had to be. And that, listen, we mentioned Chris Rock a lot, but Darren Lynn Bousman is a really, really proficient, good, stylish director for the budgets and the time he has to work on these films. There's a reason he's made more of them than anyone else, right? So getting him back was a big deal.
Yeah.
Uh, so you joined us for the Dar in the Mall obscurity report.
Are you gonna bring up that song? Because it's gonna be stuck in my head again.
Well, if you'd like me to, I was.
No,
What
please.
what I was going to actually say is that it's funny that that video actually has done very well for our channel. People really like us, like a large group of us talking about a film they've probably never heard of before.
It
And
was
and I
very enjoyable.
I'm really hoping that that becomes something that we can kind of hang our hat on in this channel, because I like the idea of people realizing that there's a lot more out there to this genre than the 30 titles that people talk about all the time. So I'm extremely proud about that, and I think that you're a critical part of that. Definitely.
It's the tits. The tits now. Sorry, no.
I thought it
Actually,
was. I really thought it was the karaoke, but okay.
no. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up because I was having that thought, about just sometimes the internet can be an amazing place where you can just kind of form new friendships with people about stuff that you like, right? And I've been talking on Twitter to a rando, and he has like a Joe Biden parody account, but he recommended that I check out Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke, and that's been kind of on my list on my back burner. But then my ass found out that it was based on the book Falling Angel, so immediately I go out and I buy Falling Angel. That's one of the fucking books on my Kindle that I'm working on right now. So I'm really looking forward to it because supernatural noir is, we don't. I feel like there could be a bigger market for it. Even doesn't necessarily have to be straight up horror, but I figure it's close enough in the genre.
Oh yeah, no,
I mean,
definitely.
oh, you got monsters in there? Cool, you're horror.
Well, even I would argue that you don't even need monsters. I think something like Spiral Staircase kind of shows how that can be done.
Hmm.
A little bit of supernatural, because I think noir almost has a supernatural feel to it anyway.
Yeah,
Because noir as a genre is all about decay of morals, decay of bodies, decay of cities.
I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely a cousin of the horror genre.
Yeah, I like the fact that something so gritty and falling apart can also come across as extremely stylized. Sort of good gothic horror or good gothic literature. I mean, good gothic horror movies, excuse me. And good gothic literature. It's like decay, but beautiful. It's just in different settings, different times.
Yeah, and that's why black and white does so many favors for noir, because everything looks beautiful in black and white and gray, right?
Yeah.
So you can play with shadow and light and in kind of extremes, whereas a color film, harder to do. Although I would say, there's examples like the Cat from Hell sequence in the Tales from the Dark Side movie that pulls off noir with color. But that's a rarity. It doesn't happen a whole lot.
It tends to look better, with the sparse color, except for, I mean, we got that with Sin City and worked well. And then we also had The Spirit after that, but The Spirit's terrible as far as anything noirish goes. Except maybe Scarlett Johansson. And Samuel L. Jackson is the octopus. But, I like both Samuel L. Jackson and the octopuses. I am biased.
And I think it's interesting too. The other genre that I always associate as being very much a cousin of noir is the Japanese samurai films from about 55 to 70. They had a very classical look to them, and they were kind of like they were private detective stories, just guys with samurai swords instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's we could kind of roll that in. But actually, Stone is asking for my favorite noir films. I'm not going to give you a list of my favorite noir films, but I would say Journal of a Crime from '34 is probably my favorite. I used to watch it as a kid. I'm not going to say a lot, but a decent amount. It was a Warner Brothers film. Um, Kind of the lower end of it, kind of cheap end of noir, but I kind of like that because it's even seedier.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Nico says he has to find a way to turn me on to some '40s horror adjacent films. He wants my taste on like the Whistler films. I love mystery films. Send me a list, man. I won't get to it tomorrow because I'm a procrastinator as much as anything. Plus, I spend my life doing other things too besides watching movies. But I will definitely check them out. So send me a list. Make that happen. I wanted to show you something that came in the mail. Look at that.
Oh my god! I can't get away from it!
How cool is that?
That is amazing.
This
Lord
is-
of Vampires.
Yep, Tomb of Dracula, Lord of Vampires. This is '68, so it's real close to the end. This is water damaged and beaten up, and that's how a book should be. But here's what I wanted to show you in particular. Look at that! An ad for a gun in a comic book. You won't believe it's an air
Make
gun.
comics great again.
And this was also so
I mean, it's just an
This-
airsoft rifle.
yeah, there's an ad in the back for the hands of Shang-Chi, master of kung
Nice.
fu. I don't know. I'm not a huge comic book guy. I love horror comics, but there's something about the fact that they look like Hammer films on the page.
It's beautiful.
You know?
Yeah, it does have a Hammer film feel.
And I just freaking love that. Now it's interesting when they adapted it for an anime, they didn't capture that at all. But on the page it looks like that.
At least they got the hamburger. I mean, I'll never be able to stop. I'll never be able to forget Dracula mugging a guy so he could buy a burger.
And what's great is it's such a quick cut of him with the hamburger that you almost don't have time to really absorb the absurdity of what you got in that one wonderful moment. It's a
Yeah.
fossilized moment in our memory.
And I appreciate that you incorporated that into the Visited by Voices little bit at the end, I believe it was. But what was funny about it was, when you put that in there randomly, I was just thinking about, okay, who knows what over 9,000 is? I'm sure y'all spend enough time on the internet to know. It's over 9,000? Come on. No? All right.
No.
Okay, so this guy named Kajito-kun made an over 9,000 video, and it was just kind of a bunch of Dragon Ball Z clips and other random anime put together. And I follow Kajito-kun still because he still has some quality YouTube poop out there. But it kind of reminded me of something that would just pop up randomly in one of his videos.
Orca saying, Stone, I want to play Battleship with you before I die.
The Rihanna version?
or the movie. He wants to get together with them and watch the Battleship movie.
I mean, yeah, it's like better than Pearl Harbor as far as, movies about ships go.
Except that Pearl Harbor, an awful film, suddenly has a moment where Kim Coates lands and plays an instructor telling people how to lighten like airplanes so they can get in under radar. And it's just this wonderfully over the top performance that completely steals the whole damn movie. Because Kim Coates had this string of being in the worst big budget disaster films of all time. He was in Pearl Harbor. He was in Waterworld. He was in The Postman. He had this period. Oh, Waterworld, of course. He had this period where he just hit them all.
I don't know.
MJ says, you had that song by Ace of Base stuck in my head for a few days. I didn't have it in your head.
It's Steak's fault.
It is Steak's fault. And I think Steak has an angelic voice. It's not his fault either. He was born that way.
It would be criminal if we didn't spotlight it.
It would be.
Because it's just, come on, it's not right.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Arista Records gives him a call.
If they're still around, sure.
I don't
But
know.
we need to point out Nico again because he's showing some love for The Bridge, which I listened to a shit ton of that and The Sign, but The Bridge was great. I mean, Ravine is probably one of my favorite songs off that album. And, but I like Ace of Base anyway. Like Cruel Summer, that remix, it's fucking lit. I don't care. I know.
So, would you say that Ace of Base were preferable to LaBouche?
Probably just because I don't think LaBouche was prolific enough for me to catch everything and really be invested. I mean, Be My Lover was the only thing I can remember.
I will just tell you that I sold a shit ton of both cassette singles for both the big songs from those bands. I mean, it was one, and they stayed in print. They like usually cassette singles would be cut to try and force people to buy the albums, but they knew in the case of those two bands, those were singles bands. You couldn't. It wasn't going to work any other way. You had to keep those cassette singles around.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Nico's saying Pearl Harbor was so awful I forgot Kate Beckinsale was in it. I never do that. Yeah, Kate Beckinsale brings value to anything she's in.
Except in the Underworld movies. I can't.
I love it. I love the Underworld movies.
I can't. I tried. I can't.
Well,
It's like a hot topic rave in there all the time, and nothing makes any sense. And it's just like I showed up because Kate Beckinsale was wearing like a leather catsuit.
Yeah.
And her hair looked cool, and she was a vampire.
Yeah.
And then at some point, this everything it just lost me. It was like, I mean, it's better. I mean, I don't know if it's better than Ultraviolet. There's only one of Ultraviolet though. And I, would probably sit through Ultraviolet again just to make fun of it. Also, Mila Jovovich, still gonna put her ahead of Kate Beckinsale for doing something weird and actiony and kind of horror-like.
For me, the Underworld films after the first film are so absurd that I just love rolling into that world. Like the Resident Evil films do it too, but to me, the Resident Evil films don't have any style. The thing that's ridiculous is that those Underworld films look like Crow movies done right. Right? Like all the Crow sequels couldn't do what the Underworld films did so successfully. But then on top of that, you have Kate Beckinsale, who actually is quite good in all of them, like as performer, not just how she fills out.
Oh, she is a good actress for sure.
Yeah. So and then they have all these older British actors come in slumming and doing just incredible performances. To me it kind of connects me to the kind of Amicus Hammer thing in a way. It has that kind of feel to it, even though the movies are frigging ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's probably a agree to disagree thing because for me, I just couldn't get into the Underworld movies, and I mean, I lose the plot on Resident Evil all the time. I couldn't tell you what each one is about. All I know is there's going to be zombies and cool action happening, but
I actually thought Blood Wars, the most recent and probably last Underworld film, was kind of amazing. I think it might be the best of the series because it's outrageously. It wants to be like Lord of the Rings on a television commercial budget, but it's just amazing to me. They kill her. You know she's not really going to be dead. Then she comes back with ghost powers. Unbelievable.
I'm glad now. Not like you've saved me from having to watch that movie. Oh, okay, that's what happens. Maybe we might put it on the list.
And I also love I
You
love how
know,
transparent it is about ending on cliffhangers that they'll never resolve. That series was great for that.
did you hear anything about the Resident Evil TV series? It's gonna be that Netflix is doing. Man, it's like a Netflix heavy week.
Yeah. Well, all I heard is that it's not connected. That it's supposedly a more serious take, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, like they didn't bring back like the guy that played Wesker in Apocalypse, or wait, maybe yeah, it was Apocalypse. So I'm like, I'm really bummed about that because I really liked him as Wesker, but whatever. I mean, I'm gonna check it out anyway. I just really liked Wesker. Like I have a Wesker sticker on my bookcase from when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out.
Stone is saying I'm with Sam. I can't when it comes to Underworld. Not for me at all. Too boring and pointless.
Yeah.
Sir, let me talk to you man to man for a second.
No, too boring and pointless. The matter has been resolved.
Kate Beckinsale in black leather.
Look, that was the argument I made. That doesn't work.
There's nothing boring or pointless there.
To be fair, it's not leather. It's got to be PVC. It's too shiny.
Yeah, and too thin, right?
Well, God, yeah. I mean, how else are you going to move around?
Yeah.
Like,
But you know what? You know what? Hear me out on this. I really feel like Kate Beckinsale gets shit on all the time because when people talk about there not being enough female action stars, shouldn't she just throw her hands up in the air, being, "I've been doing this for like a decade and a half. Where's my credit for it?"
yeah, I mean, I feel like people always remember to put Mila Jovovich in there, but they do forget about Kate Beckinsale. But again, I think that's because I forget the Underworld movies exist until somebody brings them up, and I'm like,
I own them all.
I understand.
I I don't. I see. That's the thing. People think I don't have guilty pleasures, and I definitely do.
Yeah,
I would not argue for them as great cinema. I far from it.
yeah, you
But
know, it's like guilty pleasures. Let's just enjoy what we enjoy.
but you put one of them on, and I just a smile comes to my face, and you know me well enough to know that doesn't happen a whole lot. And I have a really good time with them. And I love seeing them in a movie theater. I make a point not to go to my local movie theater for them. You have to see these in urban theaters because these are the films where you want the audience participation.
Oh,
And they're
well,
too
yeah,
polite. They're too polite in the suburbs. It doesn't work for these movies. You need people screaming shit. And
yeah.
and you know what? I will pay the extra for the 3D release so I can see her throw a throwing star at a vampire and it come out in 3D because that's what 3D was invented for right there.
That's honestly what I miss the most about theaters is opening night for a horror movie because I remember seeing It Chapter 1 on opening night. Like, I went right after work and it was rowdy as fuck. Like, everybody was into it. And the movie was like so crazy sold out. Like, me and Chris had to we had to sit rows apart just to see the movie. But it was really fun. And that audience participation definitely makes it all the better. That's why I like Draft House.
That's why I get really kind of annoyed when people talk about, oh, the movie going experience. You always have this guy talking you behind you and have someone kicking your seat. And it's like, can you get into it, man?
Yeah,
Just get into it. It's what it's about at some level. If you want to watch a movie and study it and stroke your chin, go to see a 2 o'clock in the afternoon show on a Thursday. That you haven't. There's a place for that, but
Sunday morning. Sunday morning is the way to go if you don't want to be bothered.
if you want, if you're gonna go see a rock and roll slasher film, man, you want an audience that's rowdy, don't you?
Hell yeah.
I
mean,
only
you
watched
want-
my bootleg. I only watched my bootleg of Freddy vs. Jason that was shot in the Bronx. It's the only way I'll watch that movie. People are cheering for their sides audibly for the last quarter of that film. That's how you want to watch that movie. I
Yeah.
promise you.
No, you're 100% correct, man. Yeah, like you want your movie going experience to look like the beginning of Scream 2 without the murder. Unless, you know, depends on where you live. I mean, San Antonio, don't put it past us. We'd probably do something like that. We're fucked up.
So we've been going for an hour and a half. I'm going to call it a day in just a second, but I want to remind people that you want to check out and subscribe to some good folks. Cable Channel 11, Jess Graham, Mike from the Real Fifth Beatle, and MJ from Let's Talk for a Minute. Get on that. The truth is, none of us are getting rich off of YouTube. None of us are getting the kind of exposure you would expect. But this community is growing, and it's important that, we can't all be steak sauce. We can't all be the shiny, attractive, handsome boy, right?
With the voice of an angel. You forgot that part.
A voice that could start the apocalypse. We need to go out and find all these people from different places, whether and different backgrounds and different viewpoints, because that's what makes the community important. And I'd rather listen to someone talk about something and have myself disagree with them 100%, but hear cognizant, really well thought out ideas and thoughts and how movies make you feel, than just another podcast whereas a guy pulls out the release that came out this week and says, "Oh, this is this movie that everyone's talking about, so I need to talk about it." It's great to have people talk about different things from different perspectives. That's what really makes me excited about this community, and that's why, please, 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 as soon as we're done here, go check those folks out and sub, hit the bell, make their life a little bit easier, because when you go live and do this, there's so much doubt in your mind about whether anyone cares. Show them you care.
Yeah, it's like this is kind of one of the best parts of my week is probably getting to record, honestly. It's whether it's like we're doing a community show or we're just hanging out and talking about the genre. This is like the best. This is like the best part of being on the internet. And I spend a lot of time here already.
Well, this show is the best part of the internet. What are you talking about, woman?
I mean, you're correct. This is true.
This is it.
Because we have all the cool people and all the best, like, this chat is lit. This chat is so cool. I'm going to go back and reread everything. Because there are very interesting conversations.
Nico says, really needed to hang with this crowd tonight. Mood improved 94%. Thanks again. Well, we'll work on that remaining 6% for the next show.
Indeed.
And speaking of that, we are back on Friday the 25th live with Mr. Gary A. Bronbeck. If you don't know Gary's work, he has been a powerhouse writer in the genre, Stoker Awards winner. He basically opened up a lot of people's eyes with his novel, The Indifference of Heaven, which is just a powerhouse. It's just one of those novels that turned the key in what was possible in the genre for so many people. His Cedar Hill stories are absolutely legendary at this point, and it's going to be a lot of fun to sit down with Gary and talk about, how he got into it, how he sees it, and his experiences in the genre.
Going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to that chat.
Absolutely. All right, guys, I want to thank all of you that have been around. Let's see who's still out in the comments. Nico, MJ, Stone, there's moving fast, Orc, Big Crack Rock, Dr. CZ Death, which is probably a reference I don't get.
Oh, that's my husband.
Oh. At some point he'll need to explain that, but
he's told me and I've forgotten multiple times. This is marriage.
Captain Halloween, Jay the Stingray, Daily Ghost, Jamie's Heart, and I think I just ran out of how far I can scroll back at the moment. But thank you guys for coming on in, watching us prattle on tonight. Thank you for making some noise out there in the chat, and thank you for spreading the word about this channel and the whole community. Means the world to me. Just as Sam says this is the best part of the internet, I wouldn't do this if I didn't love it, because I'm a pretty selfish guy. And having you guys out there means the world to me. Some big announcements coming both for the show and for myself in the coming few weeks. So stay tuned. There will be a pre-recorded upload before the Gary Bronbeck episode. I'm thinking either Monday or Tuesday of next week. In the meantime, have a great one, guys.
Bye.
fuck it. If that ends up anywhere else, I'm getting pissed.